What's up, everybody? Welcome into Believe in Kentucky. My name is Vinny Hardy here. My guy Cole Park is out today. He is covering some other stuff, so he's not able to be on the episode. But we got a legend in here that Kentucky happens to play. We got Auburn coming up. We got former Auburn quarterback on the Auburn Radio Network. He's on the Believe Network, co-host SEC State of Mind. We're talking about Jason Campbell. J Cam, man, how you doing?
Man, I'm doing good. Can't complain. Just it's cold and rainy, but other than that, though, I'm doing good.
Yeah, good stuff, man. Good stuff. Glad to be able to chop it up with you. That nasty weather it is. We're getting close to November, and it was dark and gray all day today up here, man.
I know, right? They say what the time change Sunday, so I don't know, man. It's like my wife likes when it gets dark earlier. I don't. I like it when it stays daylight a little bit longer. You chance to do some more stuff outside, but she's like, no, that means it's cold time. It's fireplace time. It's all these different seasons. I was just like, yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
Where's she from?
She from Birmingham. So yeah.
Rest.
Yeah,
but see, I would always, you wake up and it's dark, and then you get off the school bus and it's almost dark when you get home. I never like that.
I just didn't like it. It always mess with your energy. You know what I'm saying? Like you get up early in the morning, it's dark. As soon as you get home, it's dark. You're like, dang, I ain't even had a chance to do anything at the house. It's dark already. And it does affect your energy though. It does.
Yeah, it'll
feel tired more.
Yeah, that little sleepy funk. It sure will.
Yeah.
Sure will.
Yep.
Well, man, we got Kentucky and Auburn coming up Saturday. We are almost 2/3 of the way through the season. Y'all play 8 games on the dot, so 7 for Kentucky. Yeah, 2/3 of the way through the season, man. So 4-4 for Auburn. Where did you have them at before the season started? At this point, are they right where you thought? Did you have them winning a game or two more, or a game or two less? What'd you have?
No, I had them being better than what they are now. Right when I first, you saw the schedule. Everyone always takes a look at the schedule, then you look at the talent that you have on the team. And we always say the gauntlet of our schedule was going to be between the Oklahoma, Texas A&M, those 2 road games, and then you get the bye week, and then you get a chance to come back against Georgia, Missouri for the next stretch. And I say you got to find a way at worst to try to go. You want to win all of them, but even if you lost 2 of the 4, between that stretch, you're still 6-2. And you still got a schedule that's kind of favorable. And with your big rival coming to Auburn to play us at the end of the season, I feel like 9-2 could still get you in the playoffs. And, that's what a lot of us was hoping for. And, now we sit here 4-4 and, definitely out of the playoff hunt. And now you're trying to figure out how do we get better offensively, defensively. We do have a championship style defense. Offensively, we have weapons and these different things, but how do we get out of the, I would probably say the slow start offensively? How can we start to turn those into bigger plays and become more creative and put more points on the board? I think that's the next thing for us, but definitely not the season so far this year we thought we would be having, but at the same time, you got to finish strong, and you got, 4 games left, and if as a player and a competitor, you got to update your resume. You got to, what you put on tape, you update your resume to show like who's continuing to play hard and who's continuing to thrive and get better. So I just think at this point, this is a critical part of the season for Auburn moving forward.
Yeah, for sure. So with you being a former quarterback, you know that side of the ball well. Hugh Freeze, offensive guy, quarterback whisperer in some circles he's been described as. So just from your vantage point, you're at every game calling them for the Auburn radio network. What's been the issue or issues? What's holding them back? What's just got them to where it's just a little bit off and they're not clicking like you think they should?
Yeah, I think that's the thing, right? You think about, offensively, you always want to be in attack mode, right? And I think early in the season we start off running the ball really well, and you feel like running the ball that helps sets up everything else off of it. You learn to be physical up front, and then we kind of went to A&M. We missed a couple big plays that was there that could have won that game or changed the outcome, and then you kind of you get beat a little bit up front. You give up a lot of sacks, some of those on the offensive line, some of those on the quarterback. Not getting rid of the ball fast enough. And then you go to A&M, it's kind of the same thing, right? So you kind of got stuck in that same funk for 2 weeks in a row on the road, and then you get the bye week and you come home against Georgia, and you come out like your hair is on fire. You come out and about to go up 17-0 at the half-yard line, and then all of a sudden, the refs call fumble and rule the fumble on the quarterback sneak for a touchdown, and it's just like we just couldn't recover. And it seems like we stayed stuck on that play rather than just saying, hey, man, there's still a lot more football left to play, and we got to put that behind us. And, let's go. Let's control the things we can control. Like, we're still up at this point 10-0. And even at the half, you're still up 10-3. So I think just maturity on the offensive side of the ball, or just growing up a little bit more. I just think we just got to continue to try to be more creative. I think at times, be honest with you, I think we try to make sure everybody's getting touches instead of just sure that we're just doing what the defense gives us. Take advantage of those things, because we live in an era where if this guy didn't get this many touches, or this guy didn't touch the ball, then you afraid them they're gonna get the transfer portal and all these different things. It's different from when we played, right? Like back in the day, it wasn't that threat of that. Like you try to get your guys to grow together, build a straight bond, and then get to the point where you can go out and win games. But it's hard when you're in the era where you're trying to please everybody. Like you can't do that. You just got to go out there and roll with the cards that and play super hard and try to take advantage of defense. So I think in the quarterback position is so critical to any team, right? Kentucky is going through the same thing where you try to figure that position out. How to I think take the chances when they're there. Know when to kind of let it go and everything. But I think we're still a growing in progress right now. I know everybody look at us and be like, man, they're talented on the offense, but why
Yeah.
can't I get the points? And that's a great question too, though, right? So I think some of it's maturity and some of it's just trying to get comfortable with who's the guy, pulling the trigger as well.
hmm Yeah. Now that being affected by one play, the play at the goal line, like
Mhm.
you said, that just they couldn't recover. Um, is that come from the top? Is that the coach's attitude bleeding out, or should the players have been somebody stepped up and say, "Hey, snap out of this"? How do
Yeah.
you see that?
Typically, like I said, I'm always gonna say as a player, we put that on ourselves, right? Like I think the hard thing about, when it comes to like coaches and different things is as a player, we're on the field together. You know what I'm saying? Coaches on the sideline. When we're on the field and it's us and those 11 guys, out there playing and everything and doing what we're supposed to be doing. Somebody got to take the bull by the horn on the football field and
Mm,
say, let's go. You see it from guys. You see it from Ty Simpson, how he's always going down the sideline, getting into Ryan Williams and all those guys. Like he doesn't blink an eye. You see it from Diego Pavia. Diego Pavia doesn't put up crazy stats. Like you look at their top 4 wins against ranked opponents, he hadn't thrown for more than 200 yards this year. But he's finding a way to get his guys to play hard. He's finding a way to get his guys to keep moving forward. Like focus on pulling through and winning this game. And I think right now that's what we're lacking offensively is just someone to just take the bull by the horn and say, hey, let's go. Like that play happened. Let's move on. Like someone make the block, someone make the throw, someone make the catch, make the great run. Like as players, you can control that part. And that's why I say, like, from a coach's standpoint, I think, when it comes to Coach Freeze and, the offensive staff, when sometimes if they got things going on and, of course, everyone's heard about the ref things we've had going on at the same time. Like sometimes you may let that linger too long.
mm,
If you're trying to focus on it too long, then everybody kind of sees it, right? And everybody kind of follows that same suit. So I think they've learned over the last couple of weeks, like, hey, we're gonna get some calls against us. That's gonna happen. We're gonna make some great plays. We're gonna miss some great plays. But we got to have resilience. How do we be resilient as a football team? And I was kind of happy to see that this past weekend against Arkansas. We go up 10-0. Also, you look up at halftime, it's 21-10. You get the pick six right before half that we threw. And now you want to say, okay, how's this team going to respond? Because you know as well as I know, that could be a breaking point. If you come out, you lose that game in the second half against Arkansas, it's not going to be a lot of happy people. But they fought, they played resilience. Defense got 4 turnovers in a row, 4 straight drives. So I just think that they grew up a little bit last week from a resilience standpoint, where we're used to going up at half and then we don't really do much in the second half offensively.
And I saw Auburn Twitter, especially when you had the lead, like you said, go up 10-0, and then they go on that run. And I couldn't help with us, fixing to play y'all this coming weekend. Think back to last year's game. We were up 10-0, and then lose 24-10, and Jarquez Hunter still running on us. But the faucet started leaking, and we couldn't shut it off. And y'all were in that situation, but y'all were able to shut it off and take control back of the game again. So
Yeah, a lot of that's because of defense too, right? Our defense came out the second half and they said, "Hey, we're just not going to, let them score." And they ended up holding them to, I think they got 3 points or something in the second half, maybe. But they got 4 drives with 4 straight turnovers, and Xavier Atkins is a dude. Like, he's all over the football field creating turnovers. Pleasant got the 2 interceptions. But, field goal kicking, right? They hurt us in the Missouri game where we missed 2 field goals that could have helped us win. But then that kid McPherson, man, his story about being resilient, he probably shouldn't even be playing this year. He probably should be redshirt based off the health things he had to go through in the offseason. He come back this past week and get 6 for 6 field goals and help us win the game. So, what a tremendous story for him to have that bounce back game. And that's, to me, that's what we need offensively. Guys got to know how to bounce back. And just even as a staff, like, players are watching, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to show them that, hey, how to bounce back as well.
Yeah. Because you mentioned the couple quarterbacks you did mention, because we'll get back to Auburn and Kentucky, but you mentioned Ty Simpson, you mentioned Diego Pavia, and you know the position much better than I do. But every time you watch Alabama, like Ty just knows exactly where he's going. Seems like as soon as he gets the snap, he already knows. Like, he's seeing stuff before it happens, and he's decisive. He's not hesitating. And then Pavia, like you say, he just finds a way. He's not gaudy numbers, not video game numbers, but he's doing what he has to do every week to find a way to get a win. You mentioned Auburn's strong defense. Missouri got a good defense, and yet he was 3-3 at a half, and they were able to get enough points to pull it out in the second half. If you got to pick, Heisman finalists, you got Pavia going to New York right now, even though he's not got gaudy numbers, or do you?
I can't put him in the Heisman talk. Like, I put him in top 4 leadership, as far as, like, leading his team. But Heisman, you got to go with Ty Simpson, maybe Marcel Reed. Right now, you got the Aggies 8-0. What's this kid Bendenzo? That's his name, I think, out
Indiana.
west. Yeah. Maybe got him, and maybe Sailing at Ohio State. But still a lot of football left to be played. And, we'll find out here down the stretch. And typically those guys who have a chance to go and be in New York typically lead their teams to, like, their conference championship games, with the opportunity to win those. So I think that's going to sell itself once we get to that last couple of weeks of the season.
So you mentioned Kentucky with the trying to figure it out at quarterback, and you got Cutter Boley, a young redshirt freshman. He had his first road start at South Carolina earlier in the season. So what was your first SEC road start? Who you playing against? How'd you play?
Man, first SEC road start. I know my first SEC game was Ole Miss at home. Trying to think, my first SEC road start was supposed to have been LSU, but because of 9/11, that game got pushed to the end of the season
Okay.
instead of at the early part of the season. So I'm trying to think, who did we play after that? That was my first road test. Man, that's a good one. I always just remember my first SEC game was against Ole Miss. I know that, and it was a good one, but it was at home. I'm trying to think, who did I play on the road my first game. That's weird. I can't even think of it. It's been what,
Yeah.
24 years now.
Yeah, man, that's crazy when you say that. That is.
Yeah,
Oh
great.
boy. Cause
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
cause
God.
you know, that's it's gotta be, I mean, just the SEC, the way, the hostile environment. Um Kentucky had that with Ole Miss coming in back, just like Austin Simmons was still the starter at the time.
All right,
It
all
was
right.
his first SEC start before Trinidad came and took over. He throws 2 picks to Todd Bryant, got him on the ropes, but they were able to overcome it and still do what they need to do to get the win. But it's all about the other guys kind of helping the quarterback settle in and overcome. That's why this you know cutter at South Carolina, it was a struggle, and that's what made me just think to wonder what that was like for you, that first time when you get a real dose of SEC road life, man, for sure.
Oh yeah. Well, in this conference, as it's become, anybody can be beat on any given Saturday, right? Like you really like even Arkansas going to that game last week. I told the guys, man, this is not an easy game because they went toe to toe with Tennessee in Knoxville. They went toe to toe with A&M, um, you know, at home against a top 5 team, and they had the number one ranked offense in the SEC. Defensively they struggle, but they had the number one ranked offense. So and then you get a Kentucky team coming in, like played hard against Georgia. I saw that game. The missed field goal for half kind of took a lot of confidence out of them.
Yeah.
Like those are key plays. You got to hit those field goals. Those are momentum plays going to the half, like at the Georgia game, because they had stole all the momentum up until then. And then you think about a Tennessee game, they fight back from 28-0 to make it 28-21 at one point. So coming to the Auburn game, Coach Stoops is, there's been a lot of talks around to him.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of talks around the Coach Freeze. And it goes to show you that everything comes down into this league now. It's about winning and finding a way to win. And because there are 12 teams in the playoffs, SEC is a highly ranked conference, and everyone wants your team to be one of those 12, or at least still be in the conversation in November. And the
Mhm.
fact that you're not in the conversation in November, with the salary these guys are making, it heightens the awareness, it heightens the pressure, and everything. So I expect this to be a good game Saturday. Honestly, I do. I know Kentucky's struggling a little bit, and Auburn is too, even though we beat Arkansas. But it's going to be a night game. Atmosphere is going to be electric. But you talking about, it's still an SEC game, and you still talking about guys that want to update their resumes, and Kentucky wants to get back in the win column. Auburn wants to see if they can put 2 SEC game wins back to back before they have to go on the road to another big one. So it'd be interesting to see how Cutter Bowley react to the crowd noise on Saturday, and it'd be interesting to see what Auburn does at quarterback.
Yeah, that's for sure. And Kentucky's history, if they find a way to knock off Auburn Saturday, they might fire Hugh Freeze right there on the field. That's it won't be the first time we get coaches fired. I think beat Arkansas back in the day. Houston Nutt, he didn't stay long. Uh, Beat South Carolina and Spurrier retired a couple weeks later. So
Yeah.
we got a way of getting coaches fired. When they lose to Kentucky, that's just kind of the last straw for a lot of these, administrations and stuff like that. My cousin is on here. His name is Jason Blair, born and raised outside of Knoxville, but always been an Auburn fan. I was telling him you was going to be on here, and he was always one of his favorite players. He's got the answer to your first SEC road start. He says 2001 at Arkansas was your first SEC road.
I see. Yeah, he got a good memory, man. He remembered better than I did.
So there you go. You were in Fayetteville for your first SEC start on the road, man.
Yeah, see, I couldn't even remember that. Like, I just kept trying. I was here thinking in my head, like, who was it?
And he also, I knew I had to get his question in, and he was wondering personally for you,
Mhm.
how do you think the '04 team stacks up against the 2010 team? I don't know if you get that question a lot, but in your opinion, how do you think y'all stack up with?
We get it a lot, like all respect to the 2010 team, but everyone knows, like, man, we had a top 5 defense, top 5 offense, and special teams. So there's literally like no weakness. You watch the 2010 team, Cam was a big part of their offense for most of it, right? Running and throwing it. And then defense and Nick Fairley, is a big part of the defense on that side. And those guys, they fought. They was in a lot closer games than we were that year, and found a way to win them in the end. A lot of games that we played in, we beat teams pretty handily. But the key source is Coach Chizik was our defense coordinator, who's the head coach of 2010 team. So it's always fun to see those guys. And I was happy that they won it that year because the simple fact that we felt like we got shelled from being in the national championship game after being an undefeated SEC team, and for them to get the opportunity to go in 2010, it felt great for us. The fact that they got a chance to go and represent Auburn and win it as well. So, but yeah, man, you just talk about two teams that you know probably go down the history as top 3 teams in Auburn history, and
Yeah.
in top 50, you know, teams in collegiate football history.
And he's with you. He said he's partial to the '04 team. He kind of like what you said. He felt y'all were a lot more balanced because you just mentioned y'all didn't have any weaknesses. Uh, Feels like y'all would have shut USC down, and also feels that y'all got robbed from having that opportunity to represent Auburn in the SEC in the national championship. So yeah, that's and look, they can't take that away from you. You were the leader of that team that was not just squeaking by, but blowing teams out and winning handily. And you was the captain of the ship, man. So
Yeah, we feel like we were the team that kind of changed things for college football as far as like making the playoff system become a talk, right? I think that's when all the noise really started, and then eventually it ended up becoming the playoffs. They finally got it going, but you think about where we are now. Back then, everything was based off computer system.
yeah.
Now everything is it's the human eye test. Who makes the top 4, and automatic bid from conference wins, and then all of a sudden, who's your next 4 in, and so it's must watch TV now in December and January,
Hmm.
just because of the playoff system and where it's at. I think we're in for a treat again this season. I can't tell you which top 4 teams in the SEC probably gonna come out right now. If I had to say 2, I'd probably say A&M and maybe Bama, and maybe Georgia. They continue to win, and Ole Miss. I
Yeah.
think their last biggest test was Oklahoma. If you look at the
Hmm.
rest of their schedule, they have a chance to win out and make the playoffs as well.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be interesting. Appreciate you with the question, cuz, and the answer to the Jason Campbell trivia question too, for sure. Oh, can you think of a game, man, that where you were just in your bag in college and NFL? Like nothing the defense did, like they could try whatever, like they nothing was stopping you that day. And like you just in the zone, maybe whatever you want to call it. You got some memories of your playing days where it's just, hey man, they can't do nothing with me today.
And unfortunately, most of them was in losses, in the NFL because like I was in Cleveland one year. We go to New England, and I throw for almost 400 yards and 3 touchdowns, and we're up winning the game like more than 10 points with less than 2 minutes to go in the game, and
Mm,
next thing I know, we're behind, and
mm,
with like 30 seconds, and we go all the way back down the field again in 30 seconds, and we missed the field goal to
oh,
win the game in New England.
mm,
Baltimore Ravens, 2013, we ended up winning that game. I had another 3 touchdown performance that day, and had a couple against the Saints when I was in Washington, a couple against the Cowboys.
Mm,
But in college against Tennessee, I feel like every time I got a chance to play against Rocky Top, it was just, Tennessee was one of my favorite schools when I was coming out of high school. It was Tennessee, Auburn, LSU, and those schools, uh, and I just felt like, going to Knoxville that night in '04, I just feel like couldn't be stopped. Just nothing they could draw up blitz wise or anything. It just felt like you was just in a zone. It's like a person shooting a three, where the basketball hoop just seems a lot bigger than it actually is. It felt
yeah,
like that up there in Knoxville, and the same way in the SEC championship that year. It just it felt that way. Once you got into a rhythm, man, this quarterbacking is all about getting into a flow. And once you get into a flow, man, it's like if you feeling it, then you can deal it. It's just it doesn't matter if you get hit, you get right back up. That's the thing when you make a throw and you get hit right between the chin and the chest, and you get up and you see a big play,
yeah.
like that's when it feels like it's football.
Don't even hurt. The lick don't even hurt. You
Yeah,
just
you don't feel it.
yeah,
Not then. You made the next day, but not then.
exactly, exactly. So, what part of playing quarterback was just came the most natural for you? What was this? You didn't even have to work at it. This is easy. And then, what part of the game you hated it, but in order to be good, I got to do this. I got to put this work in. I don't like this. I'm not great at it, but I got to keep honing my craft. What came easy and what was a
Yeah, I
struggle?
try to say naturally for me was a deep ball. I feel like God blessed me with a great arm, and I feel like I could throw the deep ball effortless, whether it's a deep post or a go ball. I think that was one of my strengths. The things you didn't like the most is sometimes when coaches try to put too much on you, like 3 plays or whatever in one play. You're just like, man, let's just play football. Like, why are we trying to do so much? I felt that way back in '03 a little bit. Like we was trying to do offense by committee, and sometimes we were trying to have an answer for everything. You can't have an answer for everything. Like sometimes you just got to dial it up, roll with it, and react to what you see. I feel like you're trying to have a check for this or check for that for everything. Sometimes it slows you down athletically because you're trying to be mentally correct, and a lot of times your athleticism doesn't get a chance to show. And I think now you've seen teams do differently now, where you see the guys like Lamar and Jaden Daniels and all these guys now getting the opportunity to just play football because they're not hemming them just to a system. They're doing what their strengths are. And they're saying, hey, we're going to tailor the system around you. Why would we take away what you do well? Let's just tailor the system around you, and you're our catalyst. Let's go.
Makes sense. That makes sense. So if you were young and coming out today, if you were junior, senior in high school now, freshman in college, would your game be different or would it be the same? What
Oh,
compared
man.
to
Yeah, I'd be running more, right?
would
Like
you?
back then,
Okay.
yeah, back then they let you run a little bit, but they always kept saying, "Hey, we don't need you running too much." Where now, like people see how big of a threat it is to take off against defenses because now they have to count for that, especially they're in 22 man. You know, but back now, where you're reading the backside in and all these different things in the RPO game they do. Yeah, I probably would have had about 700 more yards rushing in college. Than I
Wow.
had. Like there was times I didn't want to run because I feel like I may get fussed at for running. So I would just try to hang in the pocket, and try to find a dump off or find a throw somewhere, rather than just taking off. And it wasn't many design runs. Like most quarterbacks nowadays get a lot of yards off design runs for them. Back then, it wasn't a ton of design runs. If you scrambled, that counted as a run, but it wasn't designed. Could you just imagine Michael Vick in today's game where they actually had design runs for him? Like he would have tore it up.
Yeah.
Like, just think about it. He would have tore it up if that was the case. But now, they do have all of that, and it's helped the game because now the quarterback sometimes for some teams do consider this the second best runner
hmm
behind the running back.
So you were always, I guess you always considered yourself dual threat then,
Mhm.
because
Yeah, yeah. I always feel
from
like I was dual threat.
yeah, because for me watching you, I was like, okay, yeah, he can run, but he's more of a passer first. But that was the way they wanted you to be, is what
Yeah,
you're saying.
as a
Okay.
mindset, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
plus, yes, I wanted to throw the ball first. I wanted to get my receivers touches and everything, but I also was reluctant because they didn't want you to run that much.
Mhm.
You felt
Mhm.
like if you ran too much, then I wasn't playing the quarterback position.
Yeah.
I'm saying? So I feel the only way for me to play the quarterback position was to be a pocket passer
Mm.
and run when you needed to run, or all else fails, you run. But now with the design runs and and everything else, yeah, of course you would have been like way more, explosive, offensively, just because of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's wow. So that's just the way you were coached, the way the position coach, head coach at the time, just kind of holding you back.
Yeah, like I didn't start like, and then my senior year at Auburn, we had such a strong passing game and run game. Coach was like, we don't need you getting hurt, which I totally understood, right? Like why run if we got running backs? You know what I'm saying? We
Mhm.
got, but just imagine like years up to that, if we could run the system where I read the backside in and the guy got chased down, if he decide he gonna chase Cadillac or running, then there I go out the backside.
Yeah.
Like the extra element it would have added to the offense that would have made us even more dangerous
Yeah.
because people now have to say, okay, now you got to pay attention to the quarterback in the run game, not just the running backs.
Mhm.
Like, and then you got to pay attention to the play action pass, and then you got to all those different things. Uh, I took a strong mindset about play action fakes. Like, I wanted my face to look just as the same as if I was handing the ball off, where they couldn't tell if I was handing it off or I faked it and I'm throwing a pass. So to me, like, it was always you know, don't be lackadaisical, even if you hand it off on a run play, like hand it off, set up, kind of look around, see how the defense reacted. So when you do come back and you throw a play action pass off of it, you have some form of see like, okay, this is how the backside end reacted. So if we run a bootleg, hey coach, run the bootleg. The end came down on that last play. So next time we dial it up, I expect him to come down and I can bootleg get outside of him. So it's just things like that. Communication to me was the biggest thing in playing quarterback and everything because you always got to try to be on the same page with your OC.
Mhm.
And because there's certain things he may not see on the sideline that you feel on the field. And I think that's the thing. The quarterback and your play caller has to have a strong relationship to be able to communicate well and understanding things.
Yeah. For sure. Have you ever seen so many high profile job openings at the same time? I mean, and the season isn't even over and probably gonna see more. I heard you and Taylor talking about it on SEC State of Mind.
Mhm.
Um, and it's just gonna be the carousel and the dominoes and all this. Have you ever seen anything like what we're seeing right now?
I think this is a record or will be a record, um, especially buyouts. I've always said I never understood any university that gives a head coach completely all their money guaranteed, regardless if they win or lose. Like, how can I tell if that coach is going to be all in on trying to win a championship, or he just knows like whether I win or lose, I can go sip wine and go to the beach. I'm getting my money
Mhm.
regardless. As a professional athlete, we always had incentives in our contract. When they gave us our football contract, it wasn't fully guaranteed. And you have to hit certain incentives, certain wins, certain stats or whatever in order to achieve your full salary of that contract. Well, how come coaches don't have in their contracts that you got to get a certain amount of wins, playoff appearances, conference championships, those type of things to reach pivotal numbers in your contract. And when it comes to buyouts, it should be based upon some form of a win or loss. Like if you BK Brian Kelly, you sign
Yeah.
a 10-year, $100-some million contract to go to LSU, but you only had to fulfill 4 years of it to get the 100 million. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And you basically didn't do what you came there or was hired to do. And so how is that to me, that tells the fan base you're cheating them out of their money because they
Yeah.
pay to come to games. You're getting mad at players because they're asking for money now, but you're sitting here paying $53 million buyouts, $70 million buyouts, $49 million buyouts. Like, so my whole thing is, where's the incentive if a coach don't have it in them just to say, hey, I want to be great, or I want to be one of the greatest, or I want to take this team from here to there. If they don't have that in them, then you're in trouble because they getting their money regardless. So what's the incentive to push that coach to want to put in extra work? What's the incentive to push that coach to want to get everybody or get you out of the mess or whatever, to really, really say the standard is let's go compete for a championship?
Yeah.
So those are the things you have to ask yourself. It's like, we talk about money a lot, but it seems to be, I've always been taught you work hard, then you earn what you get. And then I've always been taught too, to whom much is given, much is required.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels like in some of these coaching positions, they're given a lot, but some of the requirements is not meeting the salary intake.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because there's no
Yeah.
incentives to make that coach go do X, Y, and Z to achieve those salaries. They're getting it regardless. And I'm just saying, like, how's that a win for the university and the fan base? It's not a win for the university and the fan base. So they got to do something about these buyouts. Like, it's ridiculous, because if you're going to talk about the players, then let's start to talk about some of the salaries of these head coaches, because their assistants and everybody else that's under them, they got to go find
Yeah.
work.
Right.
They got to go find work.
Yeah.
But he gets to go, do what he wants to do because he's still getting a big check.
Because the buyout is just him. That doesn't include the staff. Nothing.
Yeah,
It's
and
just.
include the staff and everybody else.
Mm-mm.
You have your coordinators that get paid out their salary there, but they don't have a buyout for the rest of the couple of years like the coaches do. Like, if they want to get to a point where they got to come up with a better system. Like, the system is flawed.
Mm-hmm.
The system is flawed. And if you're people that care about your university and you want to win, you hope the person that you hire care about your university and want to win just as bad as you want to.
Yeah. And it's like you flash back to me. It's just fixing to spiral again because we're seeing now. You see things that make you stop. I was saying this earlier. You think back. I'm sure you remember A-Rod's contract with Texas. 10 years, $252 million. Whoa. That one kind of like stopped you in your tracks. You saw it on Sports Center. Man, that's $25 million a year. And then everybody gets used to it and you just kind of get numb to all these numbers again. And then every so often, bam, a big number stops you in your tracks again. To me, that's kind of where we are with all these openings. James Franklin, it happened with Penn State. And now everybody's like, well, here we go. It's like an arms race to get a coach and try to get somebody in, and after a while, everybody kind of get used to it again, and then bam, something else will kind of jump out and catch your eye again. But that's just kind of the way this year is. It's one of those what's going on kind of moments again.
Everyone's chasing. Lane Kiffin name comes up for every job, it seems like, right?
Uh,
And I respect him. He does an exceptional job, and he won a championship as a coordinator, but he hasn't won a championship as a head coach. They was 0-6 on the road against ranked opponents until last week against Oklahoma. They pulled out their first win on the road against ranked opponents. He hasn't been to the SEC championship game as a head coach or even a national championship game, but he's still gonna get paid $13-15 million a year. And rightfully so. He's a quarterback developer. He puts up points and all those type of things. He's taking Ole Miss to new heights and everything. You respect that, right? So yeah, rightfully so. His name should be up there. But then you got James Franklin, who's going to be out there, who's a really solid coach. Honestly, I thought Penn State did him wrong, just because the guy went to the semifinals the year before and lost the game before the national championship. And then this year they lost a lot of good players off their roster, but they went toe to toe with Oregon in overtime And of course, you lose the UCLA game. Yeah, you shouldn't lose that game, but you did. And you lost another one to Northwestern at home. But shouldn't what he did the year before, the years when he took the job, when they was in a dumpster fire, shouldn't that have bought him enough time to at least say, hey, you deserve to have one down year, and see how you can recover from it? Like, I thought he did. I thought he should have got the extra year because of what he inherited, and he's been winning. But then when you talk about BK, I thought it was never a good fit, anyways. Like, when he first got the job, he changed his voice at the basketball game to fit the
Yeah.
culture.
Yes.
I said, you can't start a relationship off being fake. It's gonna
Mm-hmm.
with you.
Yeah.
So, and then when you think about the Florida job, there's talent. Now LSU job is open. There's talent. Um, Virginia Tech job is open. There's a lot of good jobs, but then you got some people like Brent Key names come up. Who said Brent Key wants to leave Georgia Tech? That's his alma mater. What
Mm-hmm.
more support you gonna get than your alma mater? Clark Lee, he's not leaving Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Like, them guys gonna go down as putting their names on those fields, hopefully one day, if they just stay put. So now you're
Mm-hmm.
to the point where, okay, there's gonna be some guys, you hear John Summerall name come up a lot, but there's gonna be some guys that when they hit on these coaches, but somebody got to take the chance on some new coaches that's never been a head coach, because everybody can't get the same guy. And you can't keep trying to go get the older guys either. Like, there's some new fresh blood out there that just need to be given an opportunity and see what they can do. You saw what Marcus Freeman did when they gave him a job at Notre Dame. When he
Yeah.
became head coach, he took him to the national championship. You know what I'm saying? So you can't be afraid to also give first time guys an opportunity to become a head coach, and not just think the old guys are the only ones that know football or the same revolving door. Everybody can't get the same person. You just got to do your homework on when you get ready to go hire a guy and say, hey, how does this person fit our program? How do they fit the culture? How do they recruit? How do they, what's their standards? What's their, involvement in the community? All these different things are important. They need to be able to check those boxes. And it may not be someone that's a head coach right now. It may be someone that's trying to become a head coach. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, because I feel like there's probably going to be more to come before we get to the end of the season. But this is a record. And I think, truth be told, man, I think a 12-team playoff puts some pressure on some of these coaches as well, because people are saying, high SMU make the playoffs, or
Mm-hmm.
TCU make the playoffs, and we have more resources and more finances, and and all these different things. How come we're not in the conversation? You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And I think that puts more pressure on a lot of these head coaches to have to win. I'm not saying coaches are in a easy spot. They're in a tough spot, because now you got to deal with transfer portal, you got to deal with high school recruiting, and then you got to recruit your own kids. So it just never stops, right? So that's why it's important for them to have people around them to take some of that pressure and weight off of them. But at the same time, you still get paid a lot of money, to do a job. And so not too many people gonna feel sorry for you when you making 5, 6, 7, 8, $15 million a year, and they got to go to work every day on a 8 to 5 and
Mm-hmm.
everything, and they still got to come pay $1,500 for one weekend
Yeah.
watch you play a game or coach a game.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So
It's out of whack. It's
you
out
got
of
a job.
whack.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You really think LSU would go get the Notre Dame coach twice in a row? You think? I mean, would they?
I don't put anything past anybody. Why wouldn't they make the call though? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anybody should make the call to Marcus Freeman.
Mm-hmm.
Notre Dame is not an easy place to get into. But you think about, I think the Florida job, I think he turned it down already. But LSU, he may listen.
Mm-hmm.
He may listen. Think about it, he came behind BK at Notre Dame and took him to
Sure
the
did.
He may listen to the LSU job, because why? One, they're in a conference.
Yeah.
That's one. But he did play at Ohio State, so he is used to the Big Ten, and it's taught that Notre Dame may move towards going into Big Ten. So he may just like being put. And Notre Dame is a promising program, but it'd be hard to say that he wouldn't listen. And
Yeah.
I think they're gonna call him. They're gonna call Lane, and I think the third person they're gonna call is Joe Brady. because he was the offense coordinator of the national championship team and offense coordinator now for the Buffalo Bills. I think he will be their third option, but I think he gets the call if they can't hit on the first two guys.
Yeah. So, I don't know if I talked about this before. You came on the last time Kentucky was coming down to Auburn. I think that might have been in the COVID year. I don't know if we talked about it then or not. But you being from Mississippi, you hear Alabama and Texas and all that, recruiting and like Mississippi ain't on that level, but there's tons of talent in your home state.
Yeah.
I mean, and what I'm about to say just proves this point. The fact that you have so many, I don't know, you haven't done the research. Y'all might have the best squad of guys that didn't play for the big schools in that state, that didn't go to Ole Miss and Mississippi State. Jerry Rice, Walter Payton,
Steve McNair,
Marcus Dupree, Brett Favre, Jason Campbell, Steve McNair. None of them went to the big schools. I mean, look, Tim Couch went to Kentucky. Michael Bush went to Louisville. Tim Tebow went to Florida. Earl Campbell went to Texas. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
The studs from all these states, the big schools of that state usually gets them. But from Mississippi, the dudes I just mentioned, man,
yeah.
to not be a rebel or a bulldog, that is fascinating. I don't know if y'all have talked about that or y'all thought about that, but
Yeah, I think
that's
some of
fascinating.
it is. I remember when Steve McNair came out of high school. I think they wanted him to move to safety, and he wanted to play quarterback. So he's like, "I'm going to Alcorn." Uh, I know for myself, my brother played at Mississippi State, so I used to go to his games all the time and watch and I kind of want to create my own identity. And then Ole Miss the year before, Eli was there. Had already signed Eli the year before, but then also that was the rival of my brother's school. So yeah, that wasn't gonna happen. And I always wanted to play in the SEC. So then you start, looking closer as you went to games, and of course, LSU was I was mostly committed to LSU to about 2 months from signing day. And then I also went to Auburn on official visit at the Iron Bowl, and it's just something about them that felt like family. And I just got that family feel that like this is where I'm supposed to be. And plus I had prayed on it. And I just felt like, hey, this is where I'm supposed to be. And I knew it would upset some people, but I knew some people would understand, some people wouldn't. But because I knew that's where I was supposed to be, I committed to them. And everything. That's why I tell these young kids, man, don't get so hung up on the money aspect of things, man. Make sure you're praying about where you're supposed to be going. I said, you chase the money, you may have a short career. But if you chase destination and where you're supposed to be, you're gonna have more of an influence, which may give you a longer career, and a sustainable career, and even one when you finish playing. I said, so don't get blinded by the fact of the highest dollar means the best place. That's not always true. More than likely, most of the time, it's not. It's not. It doesn't work out. So, make sure that these guys are, listening to the right people. Like these young guys, man, now have so much coming at them. They got agents, they got, people that used to run with back in high school or whatever in their ear. They got the family in their ear, and they're 18 to 22-year-old kids, and they have a lot of pressure on them to fulfill so many different needs. And some of it is unneeded pressure. And just because they have a bad game here, you don't need to stay at this school. You need to go to another school. Like, no, that's not the right answer. Like, we got to start teaching our kids, man, that just because you choose a school or somewhere doesn't mean it's supposed to be peaches and cream every single day. Like, you're going to run into some hardships, just like you do in life. I was just like, so we got to start teaching our kids, man, that look, all right, it's not working out right now. Be better at it. You know what I'm saying? Be better. Be better. You know what I'm saying? Try to get better at it instead of start looking out the door trying to find grass on green on the other side. You just slow in the process because you're gonna run back into the same situation again.
Yeah.
Be where your feet is, be playing it, and just be better at it. Like I get some kids need to transfer because they're not getting playing time and they've been there for a couple of years, it's not working out. And yeah, you want to go somewhere and give yourself a chance. But if you're a guy there, you getting playing time and if you're not winning, hey, bro, last time I checked, you on the football team. Like, stop looking around, pointing the finger, or trying to say I can go here. No, be better at your craft. Make the team better. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, be better husband. You know what I'm saying? Stop looking at everybody.
Yeah,
Be a better husband. Be a better father. That's what
yeah,
we got to start teaching our kids to do in the future, and not look like, oh man, you know what? I had a bad day with my wife. I'm out. You know what I'm saying?
right.
Like,
Yeah,
that's what we're teaching them right now. I had a bad day at work, man. I'm quitting this job. No, that's not
yeah.
what you do. You find a way to get better at your craft and be where your feet are. Stop looking elsewhere all the time.
It's gonna be something to fight through and deal with, no matter where you go,
Yeah, I'm
no
gonna
matter
say
what.
deal with something, no matter where you go, and then money is not gonna solve your problems. Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
tell people that all the time. I know a lot of people with a lot of money, and some of them are not happy
Hmm.
because they chose to chase that, and they don't have the right people around. They can't tell if their friends around them is for them or for their money.
Yeah,
You don't ever want to be in that situation.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So Stephen Pearl, the right guy for the basketball team at Auburn.
A young guy. I say this. He's been what I think on the staff since 2016, 2017. I think he's a very in your face type guy. Him and his dad is different in ways. Bruce was a great recruiter as well, and high energy. And I think his son is going to be high energy as well, but he's a little bit more like in your face,
Mhm.
type guy. And the
Okay.
biggest thing I think for Auburn basketball is they have a lot of guys on that staff. Everybody just moved up one level, so you still have a lot of continuity,
Okay.
and from that standpoint, and there's pressure in that position as well, right? Because people are expecting you to follow your dad's footsteps, so he has
Hmm.
to try to create his own footsteps and his own way of doing things. And I'm pretty sure he's going to use his dad as a mentor and like, hey, I'm sure Bruce is going to show up to some practices and everything, rightfully so, and
Hmm.
and be an extra voice of a reasoning on certain things, but you know, I think them keeping continuity. I think the timing shocked a lot of folks.
Yeah.
Because I think it was a week before basketball practice was about to start, so I think the timing of it shocked a lot of folks. I think a lot of people thought he may try to go through this season, and then
Hmm.
he may retire or something, just because all the guys they brought in, they basically returned a whole new roster except for Pettiford. And
Yeah.
but like they always say, man, if it's not in your heart anymore, and you feel like you're gonna be a disservice by just being there, then it's best to go ahead and give it to someone that can put a little bit more effort into it, and their heart is still there. So
Yeah.
I know it was a tough decision. I'm pretty sure it probably wasn't an easy decision, but look forward to seeing what Stephen Pearl can do this year.
Yeah. It's right around the corner. Season starting earlier than ever for basketball. So
Yeah,
about to find out.
yeah,
Your score prediction for Kentucky Auburn.
man. I got to call the game on the air, so
Oh, my bad.
yeah, I
Okay.
don't, I don't, I don't want to get Kentucky any bulletin board material. A former Auburn quarterback said, blah blah blah. I say this though, this is a pivotal game for both. It's a
Yeah.
pivotal game for both. Definitely for the head coaches, right? They know that. The whole world knows that, right? Everyone's going to be
Mhm.
watching this game just to see, how these guys respond on Saturday night. Um, I think there's probably more pressure on Auburn because it is a home game for us, and everything, and we have more talent, right? And I think
Yeah.
everyone knows that when you look at our roster, we have more talent, and people are kind of seeing, can we kick it into the next gear? So I think it's more pressure on us than it is Kentucky coming into this ball game, especially with Kentucky having a redshirt freshman quarterback and
Yeah.
everything. So, the way
Mhm.
our defense is playing and the way we've been running the football with Jeremiah Cobb, of course, we're favored in this ball game. But as I say, you have to be careful because this is a league where any given Saturday you can be beat by anybody. So
Yeah.
I think for Auburn to win this game, you got to get up early on Kentucky, and you got to make them start to doubt themselves as far as like winning. And if Kentucky is going to have a chance to win this game, I think you force us to have to be one dimensional and then you're gonna have to try to hit some big plays against a defense that's really tough. Uh,
Yeah, let's see.
that's
We ain't going up against Tennessee this week. That's the thing.
yeah, yeah, that's the thing, right? You got two edge rushers in Kendrick Falk and Keyron Crawford, and then you got Xavier Atkins, who might be one of the Buckets Award finalists, all over the field. So
Yeah,
it's gonna
it's
be
gonna
a great atmosphere, man. But at the end of the day, like I say, man, regardless of records, you get a chance to lace it up at night game in the SEC. Uh, Shoot, man, it got to be fun for the kids.
yeah, it's gonna be a lot tougher sledding. All the Tennessee people kept talking about how bad the defense was. I kept saying, "Have y'all seen our offense?" Because they hadn't scored 30 points in 2+ years until Saturday, and so Tennessee wins, but they are still pissed at Tim Banks because I mean, all the Bowley throwing 5 touchdowns and all these yards. Kentucky hadn't done this. I mean, for real, Jay, since
Yeah.
they beat Florida 2 years ago, but that was Ray Davis running for about 300 on
Mhm.
Florida. So for them to just go up and down the field, even though Tennessee was in no danger of losing,
Yeah.
to see the defense just get exploited like that over and over,
And
they
that's kind of
gotta
been their strong point, right? Their defense early in the season. Like Kentucky always could hang their hat on defense, even
yeah
with the offense struggling. But like you said, against Tennessee,
yeah
they didn't have their best day.
no, and it's never been a good matchup for Tennessee. Hasn't you look at Kentucky and Ole Miss. Stoops are kind of impose his style on Lane. We
Mhm.
beat them last year down there
Yeah,
20-17.
yeah.
The time before in Oxford, 26-22. But
Mhm.
the Tennessee game, it always gets out of hand, and they score quick. And every time they take a deep shot, they hit them, and
Yeah,
it's just a bad matchup. So you finally got some offense, and then the defense was going up against Tennessee, and you
yeah.
just can't got enough
That's the
firepower for that.
dangerous, right? Because after getting chewed out all week about how bad they played defensive against Tennessee, we probably get their best against us Saturday night,
Yeah,
their best
yeah,
defensive game. So,
yeah, yeah.
it may
So
be a defensive struggle. Who knows?
you're right. Yeah, sure it could be. But yeah, I just don't know if you talk about being resilient. It's down there at night. It's on the road. Uh, my first trip to Auburn, I was with my cousin Jason. That was put it in the comments. It was in 2009. Kentucky hadn't won a road game again in forever. I came to Jordan Hare, checking it out. First trip to Auburn, and in my mind, I'm like, hey, this is cool. I'm probably gonna get to see how y'all throw that toilet paper because I wasn't expecting Kentucky to win.
Yeah,
But Randall Cobb and those guys went off, and
yeah,
Kentucky won that night. So, like you say, anything can happen. Uh, I have to come back to Auburn next time to see y'all roll Toomer's Corner. But had a good time down there for sure, man. And, uh,
yeah.
let you go, man. But SEC state of mind. Last time you was on, it was just believing Auburn. You and Taylor Davis, but y'all done broadened out. Y'all talking about the whole league now, right?
Yeah, man, we want to broaden our show out and kind of expand on everything that's happening across the league, and why not? It's too talented, and everything. I think it just makes it a little bit more fun for us to be able to pour in a little bit more on other schools and not just be so focused on Auburn all the time because I got to call their games, I got to
Mm,
cover the games, I work with the NIL collective, all those different things. So it's kind of like gives me a chance to kind of get away a little bit and focus on the league as a whole while we still talk some Auburn, but we get a chance to focus on everybody. So
yeah,
it makes
good
me kind
stuff.
of prepare and study a little bit more about other teams and know the no elements of the game.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I listened to y'all's episode yesterday, and
Mhm.
they said she wrong for messing with you about that Kurt Signetti, man. She didn't have to do you like that.
Yeah, she got me on that one. I said, you got me. I said, I didn't do my homework, look at the man's last name for real. I said, you got
Yeah,
me.
yeah. Hey, but y'all keep doing y'all's thing, man. Look, if y'all listening, they're on the Believe Network just like us. SEC State of Mind, going live on YouTube or follow Jason and Taylor on Twitter. But man, appreciate you taking time to hop on here and drop some knowledge. We talk some Auburn, but we talk some other stuff as well. Try to mix it up a little bit, man. But always enjoy talking with you, man, and getting to know you a little bit over these past few years, Jay.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on, man. I say look forward to it on Saturday and hope the weather's good and everything. But y'all have safe travels.
Hey, we appreciate it. Thanks again to J Cam. It's been another episode of Believe in Kentucky. Cole and I'll be back next week doing our thing like we always do. Appreciate everybody that listens, rates, subscribe, reviews, leave a comment, leave us those 5 stars. We appreciate all that. It's been another episode of Believe in Kentucky. Go Cats, and we'll holler at everybody next time.